Thank you for joining today. Today's topic is Top Steps Take on the Spring 2026 release for SuiteProjects Pro. I'm Ron Bro, CEO. And again, thanks for joining. In this latest release, there are improvements under the global use cases, the projects, resources, and a few infrastructure items. So let's go through these in detail. Global search, each release, they are extending the use case for the global search, adding more and more objects. In this release, they've added quite a few objects that are now searchable, including invoices, issues or items, project discussions, timesheets, and time off requests. So these are all now available to be searched. These are automatically enabled in your account. So if you determine you don't want these searchable, you can, as an admin, you can go under the global settings, account, global search, and you can disable some of these items from being available in the global search. I'm very excited about this one. I think this is a very underrated release item. The field order is something our clients are often asking us to move the fields around, move the forms around to make more sense, push more of the standard fields to the bottom and custom fields to the top. And until this release, you could only do that on project records. They've extended the field order to both customers and employees. The employee one is especially significant because there's so much permissions around all the different apps and approvals and other things that can clutter up an employee user form. Being able to push those down towards the bottom of the form, push up the custom fields and important information and reorder it in a way that makes sense is going to be a huge improvement for all of TopStep's customers, and I think anyone using SuiteProjects Pro. So very underrated release item, kind of under the radar, but I think it's probably could be really important moving forward and really a big help for our customers. So for this to show up, you first have to check the box, enable the field order for the user form under optional features under admin and account. For those of you, so those are my friends in St. Martin, we now support your currency, just FYI. So this is the biggie, the crown jewel of this release. The reason it's the crown jewel of this release is because it is the first injection of AI functionality in SPP. Let's hope and hope that it's the beginning of AI injection into SPP. But Project Summary is meant to basically auto-generate a project summary using AI, using underlying data in SPP to be able to provide records that can be accessible. There's different sections. There's a reporting section, which gives you kind of the verbal interpretation of the data. And then there's a summary section, which also gives you more potential risks. And then it does show the actual data the report is being based on as well. So you have project data and summary data sections. You have overview and analysis under the project data, and then summary and sections. You can have highlights or potential risks. And you can disable those or enable those per project summary. So if you don't want to see one or the other, you could turn it off when you generate the summary. It's not a global setting today. It is set at the summary level. I'm going to actually do something we don't normally do. I'm actually going to jump into the product and show you this because I think it's meaningful enough to kind of walk this through. So let me pull up our demo sandbox account. And I'm pulling up Acme's billing and RevRec process project for TopStep. If I drill down into this project, you now see the project summary option when enabled in your account. We went ahead and enabled it in the TopStep Prod account. There doesn't seem to be any risk in turning it on. And we will talk about who can have access to it. Here you'll see I created a summary of this project. So let's drill down here. So this is where you're going to get the project summary. So it's going to give you an overall status of the summary based on the data it's providing. It'll highlight the data, and then it'll call out any potential risks here in this data. So you can add additional text here. You can modify the text here, bold or anything of that sort. And so all of this can be manipulated if you need be. You can also copy this data and then paste it into a email or another type of document you like. If I want to see the underlying detail within this, what's making up a lot of these overview, I can show project data and it's going to pull up a report. This report is pulling from the financial analysis report that you'll see if you have access to it under the reports of the project. So it's pulling through any of the charge data, cost data, profitability data, and then budget data. So this is the data, the underlying data that's being used to for the AI agent to go in and set this. I can generate these as often as I want. If I wanted to generate another one, there's two different ways to do it. I could come in here and say generate again, and it's going to go in and generate another report. If I do want to do it from drilling into the project, they do have the ability, if I go back to my list view, there's the ability to generate it from the list view under actions. So from here, I can click and you can give it a title and then hit generate. And again, it will give you the data we just saw. So I'm very excited about this. I think a lot of customers, AI is on everyone's brain these days. So I think this is a good first step and hopefully the beginning of much more. So these slides kind of show a little bit about what we've already seen from the generation and the list of project summary details and the underlying report data that's being pulled. There are some new role permissions when this is enabled. Gives users view only summary data, so can't generate it. View or modify, can generate it, can modify it, obviously, and then limited to view modify for only projects where you are the owner. So those are the three kind of noted new rule permissions that you can determine what makes the most sense for your organization. Note if any of these role permissions conflict with being able to see, say, cost data or other data, then they will not be able to see some of the data. So you have to make sure you don't have conflicts in your roles from the data that the system is trying to show. There are some AI quota limits similar to some of the API limitations. So you have the 1 month, 20,000 AI requests and 2,000 within a 24-hour window. I don't think this is going to run into many folks' problems, cause problems for many folks, but you can monitor these now when you turn this on under Administration Global Account, and there's an AI quota option to keep track on how many limits your organization is using. Minor improvement on project discussions. Previous to this, the icon used for the back and forth was just the initials of the first and last name. They've now given you the ability to, if you're using a profile pic in the system, I don't have many customers using those, but if you happen to be using those and you're using project discussions, you can now see profile pics inside of the project discussion. They continually are improving the Resource Center. When it first came out, my first complaint was the filtering conditions and being able to limit what data we see in there was not making it usable. They've remedied a lot of that. So now the filters are much more advanced and much more accommodating. So you got the standard is not, at least one of, or not of, or all now available. In the initial push of this, you couldn't filter on whether the resource was active or not. You now can use this active, which when I was trying to use this, I was seeing users that I didn't want to see, and I was having a hard time hiding them. So this makes this much more usable. You can also now manage the columns and organize the columns better using the customize columns option in the menu, and display names of the columns and move the columns around. Also, if you have large area text as one of the columns you want to see, instead of it taking up a lot of space, it's going to concatenate the text, but then give you the ability to pop the text out within there. So you can see that if it's anything over 120 characters, it will then allow you to hover and be able to pop this out and see the text without having to open the record. One thing to note, in our testing of this resource center, it's going in the right direction. There's still a few buggy behavior that we're noticing. So there's a couple like advanced filter settings not sticking, multi-select only displaying until one user until reapplied. So if you're playing with this or enabling it or using it, just be aware there's still a little bit of buggy behavior. We've reported back to NetSuite, but I still do think it is a good addition to the resource module for being able to drag and drop and see a lot of those key data sets that you can now also see in the Project Center. Also, there's now a feature-specific user satisfaction feedback form specifically for the Resource Center. So you will get a pop-up using this product because they're wanting feedback to continually improve the tool. So if you do not want those pop-ups, then you will need to contact support and have them disable this specific pop-up option. I believe this is lastly, there used to be or is an Exchange integration for SPP, SuiteProjects Pro. I don't have any customers using it. I don't know what customers out there did use it, but they are end of supporting it. So if you are using that standard SPP Exchange, Exchange Integration Manager desktop application, it will be coming to an end this year. So if you're looking to replicate or rebuild an integration between Exchange and SuiteProjects Pro, then you're going to need to go to something like an API connector or middleware like a Celigo or Boomi. TopStep would be happy to talk to you about building that bridge between SPP and Exchange or any other systems. If you'd like to talk to us, please reach out. So that is the highlights of this last release. If you want to know anything more about the release or TopStep or SPP in general, you can subscribe to our newsletter or hit us up on our website. We're all over LinkedIn as well. So everyone have a great day. Thank you.